my name is Mac Gimse. I live in an old deserted Methodist church on the Cannon River, and yesterday was the first day that I could really walk outside and do and think sculpture in the open. And that was so nice. And today is another one of those days. I cherish the possibility of building things that I can see and I can turn, and they smack you in the face if you don't watch out. But my main purpose in the garage yesterday and today was to get the double dove of peace and love into a model form that then can go to the welders, and they will do it in 3/16-inch stainless steel rods. But until I get something working, a working model, not even accurate for that matter, the company that manufactures this doesn't know what I mean. It's up to me to explain to them what this is presumably all about. Now, when we sit together for hours at a time going over all the details of waving this way and that and curving this way and creating a sense of lines flowing, they become the artist that I wish I could be with their welding torches. This whole idea comes from seeing eagles and swans and everybody fly by our house down by the river. And when they land, they land with their head up and flapping their wings like crazy this way. When they take off, their head is down and the wings go backward. And I mean, it's just stunning, the difference between takeoff and landing. So I call it the double dove of peace and love, because it's doing both. One end and the other end are taking off and landing at the same time. And if I make it big enough and with polished stainless steel, it'll glisten in the sun. Joy for me is after I had built a 24-foot model out of plywood and sheets of aluminum, my job was really over. I had to rely on these people who knew what to do with the challenges I was throwing at them. It was out that our house overlooked the Cannon River, so we were used to hearing the water rushing, and we canoed that river with our tiny kids. We had 3- and 4-year-old kids. Many times we looked at the trees with all their undulating patterns, and then there were the silos, the steeples, the towers around that kind of got me thinking about going upward as far as I could. When you stand under it and you see those things twirling above you, you really get the picture of what I had in mind for this. Because I want the wind to blow, wave the flags, turn the elements that are on there, and when you stand underneath, it's really fun to see that. The whole idea is for all of us, when we see this, to look up. And I only saw this as a collaborative adventure with people who could build it, who could weld it, who could pour the concrete, who could come together and provide the funding that was needed. And to me, that's the grand part of today, and that's what I want to pronounce, is that this is a community collaborative. It is just astounding what a community can do. And what it is, here's the ancient ruin of the mill, the basis for this city to be founded. And that's what it's all about. And be sure to enjoy it by being under it, tapping on it, and making sure that it's your piece, because that's what it's all about. So I guess I need to conclude by saying that this indeed is the greatest little village on the face of the earth. And I believe that, and I hope you do. Jackie and I lived multiple times in Jerusalem and visited Bethlehem and the Church of the Nativity. Of course, it was not anything like you and I have heard about in the New Testament. But I want to just mention that this piece is what I call representative of any family, not just the Holy Family, because while we were there, I also got a message from St. Olaf saying they would like me to create a bronze and in a tribute to David Trimble and John Hume, the Nobel Peace Prize laureates from Northern Ireland, who after 30 years of internecine war and many, literally thousands of people being killed, they finally made Ireland safe for children. So the piece has the mother at the point of birth, contemplating the child to be born, and then the presentation of that child to the world. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God. These children are being brought to life in the human world. They're presented with gifts that make life. For them, education, community, and values of faith and human decency. These were my inspirations for doing the sculpture piece and for being here today.
On paths to freedom with helping hands and guiding feet. We must yet make peace with our neighbors who surround us in all seasons and bind us into one body, while the earth rings with the voices of children singing their joys of laughter and crying out with their saddest of sorrows. What we truly seek lies beyond our bodies, beyond the coursing of our ethnic blood, beyond the narrow vision of our planet that is no longer free to take, nor ours to keep. Now we are together in our razor-thin layer of unscrubbed ozone, where our freedom to be silent has ended. On paths to freedom with helping hands and guiding feet. Is my dream of paradise the same as yours? My dream is to wash away stains of abuse, empty pockets of discrimination, shake out tatters of poverty, and desanctify gender wars. No longer my ease in my body, in my protected space. My most urgent dream is for the yet unborn, how to keep each child free from human harm, free from plunging into seas of refugees, then washing up face down onto beaches of rejection. Free from loss of home and proper parenting. Instead, free to grow into their birthright of living to learn and learning to live. With helping hands we shine brighter than we see. With guiding feet we rise stronger than we feel to challenge the hovering hawks of war, to land and live as doves of peace. From our breakable hearts we shout, this is not the final act. Do you believe me? Cries of the huddled lost reach out from their dwindling fires to penetrate our vanishing garden and teach us their song for all to join. This is the cradle of our common borning, the sphere of our finite journey. On paths to freedom, we are becoming one children who struggle to see a future of peace from our own awakening, created by us to be free. On paths to freedom with helping hands and guiding feet. coils of clouds toss megatons of snarling chaos down onto streets swept dry by flames of people stilled, fear frozen in a flash. Watch playgrounds drain of joy. Never again, no more hurting. Evermore bring me shelter. Cover me with your arms of embrace. All life stops with thunders of hot ash blowing, a singe of odor, breeze of melting leather onto hairless flesh. Touch tiny fingers as they reach for coolness. Never again, no more burning. Evermore bring me balm. Lay on me your hands of healing. Humans fall in heaps of walls, tumbling, scattered over stains of ground, each body etched into shadows of amber halo. Listen as kindergartens fade to their final breath. Never again, no more suffering. Evermore bring me gentleness. Sing me your songs of soothing. Nothing remains but eternity to stretch into, leaving the last terror shown forever shouting on my face. Hear, little ones sobbing inside their screams. Never again, no more crying. Evermore bring me silence. Give me angels' wings to fly away from tears. Child angels lie in wait for the embers of their sintered lives to cool inside their wounded souls, then rekindle their youthful glow. Dream of children dawning to teach us their joy of life. Never again, no more nightmares. Evermore bring us dancing into a world of healing hearts. With memories of the nuclear holocaust, I pledge never again to harm the sweetness of my child in laughter evermore. Feel the infant heartbeat pulsing through my veins. Never again, no more heartache. Evermore, bring me love unending. Promise me peace to last beyond this day.
Dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, and every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is the faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope.
On the top, there are two hands, one for calm
and one for quiet of the loudly crowd. And below that, there are 4 doves. And these are the 4 words that King used to typify his type of resistance. They are flying extremely near to flame that is shooting out of the top of the mountain. And there are 4 of them for the 4 words. But this mountain that he refers to the day before he died is an explosive thing, because the next day he was shot. And this convulsive flow of energy up into the air is what it's all about. That's why you do this kind of thing, the protest that he did. Now, there is a mountain, and there are 4 sides to the mountain, and in the bottom there is a stone of hope, and around this are blades, plows. The millions of black Africans who came to the USA were placing their effort, replacing the plowshares in order to raise principally tobacco and cotton. So they are standing here as a symbol of their effort. You begin me, wind. The trees mime your gallop as they race across the crouching hillside, gathering into great thunderheads of power to send lightning grabs of pent-up torrents crashing down into the chaos of my unsuspecting world, to crush my arm-in-arm march for freedom at last and violate my innermost sacred chamber without my permission. Ah, wind, you stir the waters with Holy Spirit sound to enter wombs of readiness that will yield children of mercy, to be nurtured by us, to grow in wisdom and strength, and lead us onto common ground where soils are saturated by every mix of human blood and soaked down by human tears, that we might learn to sow our seeds of peace into fields of a gentler faith, asking the God of every religion for permission. We lean against our moral obligations to friend and foe alike, bracing up each bridge of passage that drives us to our most urgent quest. I have a dream. Upon this rock, we will create love, not hatred. I have a dream today. Upon this rock, we will offer mercy, not revenge. I have a dream that one day upon this rock, we will build peace, not war upon brutal war, until together, as one human flesh, we offer a verdict of mutual respect between the powerful and the powerless, for all future generations to follow, asking only for peaceful permission. Somewhere in the vastness of our separations, we hear voices crying out to still the voices that terrify us, to steady our trembling foundations in our fragile homeland, to set down our weeping weapons on screaming streets of rage, to circle our sanctuary against the sting of ethnic purging, to desanctify gender wars, to bind up wounds laid bare by warring creeds, until together we lift up our next born as a joyous daybreak to end the long night. And from the mountaintop, look out to the promised land where every life matters. My art is a window on my soul. My poetry is a door through which I invite people to join me in our search for goodness in humankind. I want to add that when a composer sets my poetry to music, it transcends to an aesthetic realm that I cannot reach on my own. I'm inspired by voices and instruments that transpose the meaning of my art and poetry into a new vision with a sound that belongs to everyone. So this is where my own involvement tapers down, and you become the interpreters, the implementers of each stanza of my poetry. My words are based on the words that emanate from people I admire, who are doing the work of this community. When Jackie and I arrived 50 years ago with our two young children, Gracia and Chris, we were quickly immersed in a surround of workers and teachers and artists, among many others, who guided us into activities and events that gave us delight and an awareness of our place in your midst. People we respect have cultivated the landscape of dedicated growth for everyone in this community, young and old. And now, if you can believe it, 50 years later, I look around and I see those of you who inspired me to pay attention to the important issues of everyday life. From the here and now to around the country and reaching throughout the world. It's all right here. I feel it's like in this room. I gleaned the benefit of your efforts, which now tonight means I want to express my appreciation for all of you. You are, for me, a reflection of the true basis for this evening. I'm indebted to you for your kindness while you gave me solid ground to stand on. It was a place I wanted and needed to be with you, not knowing how much my life depended on being here near you. This program lives on in the hearts of all those who deserve to be standing here with me now and in the future. So I'm ever so grateful.
So it'll be that curve. It'll sort of flatten out.
Sure. Well, this had to be a paint.
That wasn't so bad.
Oh,
We can roll that there, and I just made a gauge.
okay. But I mean, the fact that it's on the sculpture, you have to match that.
It'll be interesting. I hope it works the way I think it.
No.
I have been helping basically translate, I would say is the best word, Max Vision into a physical object using some of the software that we've been trained in here.
Okay.
And just working with Mac to figure out how to get his vision realized.
Right.
When you're translating, it's more, well, it's got a curve and it does this, and it's a bit more abstract.
Sure.
In the sense that you don't have those hard surfaces to, that's holes exactly 5 inches from that side, and it's a little more difficult when you're not dealing with, those nice flat surfaces that we're used to.
Yeah.
So that's we'll do the proof of concept, but that's more a little bit down the line. So
I was kind of overseeing a lot of it, not all of it. Not a lot of the manufacturing and design was already done, but putting it together, putting it up, raising the structure, putting it down, a lot of that I was involved in. So I've put this thing up 6 times now and counting. So, but every time it gets a little bit more difficult because every time there's more finish work done to it. So every time I have to protect it just a little bit more, I have to think about it more and more. And this last time we had to put like plastic protective film over the whole thing to protect the clear coat, put it up, and then I have to peel all that off so that I don't put any scratches in it. In the finishing, so like these guys were involved in the grinding. Okay, so that took it down about as far as what we could do. And then they would put skim coats of body filler on it and this acrylic filler and then sand it down, and they just kept doing that and getting it all filled in, and now you can't even tell at all that there's any seams there. But it's got an automotive finish on it. I mean, it is so beautiful. You can just look right into it and see it. It's turned out great. Yeah. Putting those curve pieces on was challenging. The transition pieces. So these transition pieces, and they actually just come around and bend, almost making complete curves. So some of them, trying to get those bent right and look good. The whole team that I had helping me, I'm so proud of everything that came out because it just turned out so good. Like you can't see any imperfections in it at all. And just to think that there's no filler in any of those transition pieces, it's all just natural. So it turned out beautiful. Yeah, but that was the hardest part for sure.
As an artist, Max practices a unique blend of sculpture and poetry that captures the ultimate goodness of humankind. His dedication to peace and human rights is manifested through many commissioned artworks, including the United Nations Human Rights Commission and notably bronze sculptures for numerous Nobel Peace Prize laureates. His artwork can be seen in the Nobel Peace Prize Institute in Oslo, Norway, and the Norwegian Royal Family Collection. We are delighted to have Max's newest sculpture, Striving for Peace on Horizon's Brim, standing here at the entrance of our beautiful natural lands. Please join me in welcoming our sage soothsayer and fabulous mentor to all of us, Mac Gimse.
Right here and now, it's a sculpture that we're looking at that is one of those miracles of collaboration and colleagueship that you really don't see coming when you do art in your studio and think, I love doing this, but nobody's gonna like this. It all started with a 2-foot bronze sculpture for the 2009 Nobel Peace Prize Forum, held at St. Olaf, which went on for 20 years. And in 2009, this piece was done in both bronze and in a 4-foot model. And I also did a 12-foot model. And Greg said, well, I have a friend in Lincoln, Nebraska, who is the founder and owner of a steel company that I think can do something with that. This is what we sent to Lincoln, Nebraska. Look at what we got back. Now, but I want to start with something that's not happening right now. On the very top is the double dove of peace and love. Now, normally in a good breeze, it's spinning. And in TMCO in Nebraska, the Metal Plus Arts Division cut a 3-inch tube in half, and then they put 2 eyeballs on for 2 beaks of this double dove. And the idea of the double dove is that one beak is down, which when we look out our backyard to the trees, we see big birds taking off, and they're aimed down. So that's peace taking off. Mm-hmm. The head that's slightly up is that big bird landing on a branch, and that's love landing. Peace taking off, love landing. So with every spin, there's an emanation of the spirit of peace from right here on campus to wherever in the world any of you or anyone else can think about what this means. And then below it is the color column of life, 7 colors in the color column of life, and in the middle is the sphere of our finite journey. All of us here today and all of humanity, we're assigned out of all the universe to this planet, but it is the sphere of our finite journey because each of us, once we're born, begin our own finite journey. But if you mix all these colors together on an artist's palette, you get brown, which is the color of being one human flesh. And that's what we are. No matter how you look at it, one human flesh. Mm-hmm. And the reason for please spin gently with kindness in your hand and heart is that over the years, beginning in 1989, when the Nobel Peace Prize Forum started at St. Olaf, and for the next 20 years, every 5 years it came here, the Nobel laureates came to campus, including Jimmy Carter, President Jimmy Carter, David Trimble from Northern Ireland, Rigoberto Menchú from Guatemala. And anytime they were around and we were talking to them, what we really felt was they had kindness in their hand and heart, not just in their heart, because their hands meant action. And so when we spin this wheel, let's see, can you tell which way the spiral is going? Is it going into is it geocentric? It should be. Well, okay, we'll go the other way. And is it going out? See, you have to pay attention. That's good. Now, there are 4 pairs of images that you can see, but the idea is you have to walk around to see the images. I hope you don't mind. There we are. And you can see on the yellow, which is the sunrise in the morning that leads is to the east of our house, and that's where we see the birds. There's an eagle soaring and an eagle landing. And the eagles are, of course, protected, endangered species. And then on the red, you see that they are gender-reflexive images that remind you of Da Vinci's Vitruvian humans. If you put them together, they are dancing in harmony. And then if you dance around to the other side, you'll see the blue has the fluke of a whale diving and a whale breaching. So that represents all life in, under, and around every form of water on the face of the earth, also an endangered species. And finally, there's a green. Now, there are the 3 primary colors, red, yellow, and blue, and then the complementary color, green, for the forests, which, of course, take in CO2 and give off O2, and they are shelter for animals and vegetation. One is without leaves, which is an indication of how the seasons roll. We're on this spinning globe and flying, dashing around the sun. And I wanted that to be an image because all of these 4 legs are actually taken from a computer image that I saw of solar flares on the surface of the sun. They fly up, wiggle all over, and come together at the top. So I call this the kiss of peace. Others of them flare out on their own. And they, of course, are an influence on our Earth's atmosphere. Well, a symbol that came to me that originated with a crucifix but became a tower of hope. And on this side, there's an arm and a hand that reach out, and it subdues what I call a slight image of an oil pumping rig that drains an irreversible Earth's resource. It has even another hard-hitting piece that we have to admit, and that's to subdue all forms of humans killing humans. A non-reversible act in war, all forms of violence, and abuses of every kind. Subdue, that is our only option. But on the other side is this wing that goes out and attaches to what I call the mythological phoenix. It has a long neck and a really awkward looking beak. And from time to time, it self-immolates and it collapses into a pile of rubble. And over time, it rises up out of its own ashes and is restored, redeemed, and comes to encourage us to believe that out of devastation comes renewal. That we as a civilization are capable of rising up out of the rubble that is created by humans being brutal to humans. And we are able to fly in a trajectory that we aim to create peace as our only option. The last phrase I want is Kyrie eleison et dona nobis pacem. God have mercy and grant us peace. Amen.
Amen.
And then Ralph Johnson. Ralph Johnson is a very respected Twin Cities church musician and composer. And he chose to use the poetry of Mac Gimse. Now, most of you think Mac Gimse, an artist, he's a sculptor. But for every major piece that Mac has created, he has written a literary work to accompany it. And there is actually a piece called On Horizon's Brim. It's a huge, I've seen pictures of it. It's a huge piece of art, and it resides right now in Nebraska. These two have similar personalities. So I understand why Ralph was drawn to this. Because Mac is a good Lutheran. He cares for his neighbor, and he cares for God's creation. But his God is not a God of fire and brimstone. If you read this marvelous text, it is a God of art and creative laughter. It is a God, though, who reminds us, I think many times maybe weeping, in terms of our stewardship of God's perfect creation, because he talks about the melting polarscapes and global warming. And contrary to thoughts of some leaders, there is global warming. Okay? But in the end, it is about love. Love of neighbor, love of God for the care of God's people and God's creation. Now, Ralph also is a great lover of music of all times of the church. And so he very imaginatively brought in an ancient chant, at least the head motive of an ancient Gregorian chant, Veni Creator Spiritus, come, Creator Spirit. You hear it in several versions, but initially it's most prominent in our first oboist, and he has a very jaunting dance-like melody. Colin, can you show us that? And then later he puts it in the English horn. You hear this beautiful warm quality low in the register. Carter? And then the last portion of the piece, you'll hear the choir pick up the head motive of that. And I think it was an ingenious way of bringing the old and the new. I've asked this question every stop of this tour, and I'll ask it of you. It's a rhetorical question, but take it seriously. What kind of steward have you been of God's creation? How have you cared for God's creation?